Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Drudels Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about the newest event, which has been added into World of Tanks Blitz, the Night Walkers Challenge. This is a rather basic and, in my opinion, easy event that every single one of you should be focusing to complete. You have 7 days to, in total, deal 300,000 damage. 300,000 damage is not too hard to do over this amount of time. We can see I got my calculator out, as usual. So if we do 300,000 divided by 7 days, that means you have to do, on average, 42,000 damage a day. And if we say that the average player in tier 10 is going around 2,000. That means we have to divide this by 2,000, and it means that you're going to have to play around 21 battles, averaging 2,000 damage in 7 days to get this unlocked. That's not too many games, to be entirely honest, and obviously today is the start of a weekend, so I would recommend to get some battles out. I should also mention, if I'm not mistaken, you're probably going to be able to do this in game modes. I'm not sure if there are going to be any more game modes coming out, or Wargaming is just not going to have any, but if there are game modes, I do think they will be participating in this. Either way, this is a super easy event to complete. And the major reason why this event should be so important to you is because getting 300,000 damage will give you a guaranteed drop of either the Helsing, Dracula, Lycan, or Pharaoh. All very strong tanks. We can see that the drop chance as well for these 4 vehicles are the same, which is really nice. A lot of the time you'll see, rarer vehicles sometimes in these crates being a smaller drop chance. But in this crate, you have an even chance of getting any one of these vehicles. So in today's video, I'll be talking about each one of these 4 tanks, showcasing their capabilities. I'll have timestamps so you can take a look at which one you might want to get your hands on, and if you already have one of them, maybe how to play it. So what else can we get in this event? Well, we have a spooky reactions pack. We can see all the reactions here. They're okay. I actually kind of like them. I still love the golden turd, so I'll be sticking with my gold reaction pack, but not too bad. We have a cool Witch Fellow attachment, which we can see here. Looks very, very nice. Not gonna complain at all. And then we have some other really good rewards. We have a Spooky Web camo. We have a Pumpkin Mayhem camo. We have the E50M Monster camo, but you can't really see it because I have a modded camo over my E50M. We also have a Soul Conductor attachment, which we should be able to see if I put it on one tank. There you go. Looks pretty sick. And again, these are all free, and you have 2 more camos. We can get the Age of Darkness, 2 of them, and then the special E50M Monster Evo camo. So basically, Wargaming's telling you to grind to the E50M. You can also get this part of Soul Crystal, and if you collect 3 of these, you get a special item, which we'll have to see what that is in the future, but make sure to collect this. It's literally free and should take you very little effort. So yeah, just get damage. That's all you have to do to complete this event. It's pretty easy. I don't want to see anybody complaining in the comments that this is too challenging. So we're going to actually take a look at these vehicles now and their capabilities. We're going to start off with the Helsing, and we'll make our way to the Dracula, the Pharaoh, and the Lycan. So, what does the Helsing have going for it? Well, honestly, quite a bit. First of all, it's very fast, reaching a top speed of 60 kilometers per hour, making this one of the fastest Tier 7 tank destroyers, and it has a fully traversable turret, meaning that not only do you have great mobility, but you have the ability to really do whatever you want. It has troll armor. I wouldn't say good armor. You are not going to be driving a Helsing and expect to get bounces. In fact, the lower plate is a possible high explosive pen from 150mm armaments like the enemy team's Smasher. And same for the side of the turret, so that is something you will have to be very cautious about. But in return, the Helsing features a very, very nice gun, and we can see that gun in action right there. 381 damage into that enemy E10, and we didn't even get spotted ourselves. We can also see that this tank features a fairly quick reload, only at 9.1 seconds to deal 400 damage. While this tank is old, it definitely features some incredible damage output. There you go, 380 into the enemy's Cyborg, and we start to back up. We can also see that I'm able to pick up some speed when reversing here. So what are we going to do? Well, we can see the enemy Cyborg on the side. The Sideborg. Haha, I'm so funny. Alright, well, let's leave. We have the mobility too, and that's what's great about this tank, as I mentioned before, is that you have great mobility. It's not limited by speed, which some tanks are. We can get right up this hill here at 48 kilometers per hour, and what I'm hoping is that we can maybe get some damage into this hazard. So we're going to see if we can do that right now. Our team is pushing this player, and we're going to drive right over. Hello, good sir. Bonk, bonk. 380 damage into that hazard. And that player also appears to be stock, and you just shot, which means I'm going to reload again. And, well, a bonk, bonk. There you go. Pretty good. Now, we saw that that Blitz 9000 was camping in the back over here. Not sure if we're going to be able to do damage to that Blitz 9000. Let's see if that player's still back here. Hello? No. Okay. I don't see the Blitz 9000 anywhere, but I can tell you for a fact, yeah, there he is. Running away like the little poob he is. Okay, well, this is going to be a win. I mean, while the enemy team does have a Smasher, he's only at 300 health, which means I'm not really too worried about that. And we are going to squeeze right over to the Smasher. Goodbye! Obviously, this tank is very nice, again, in just that damage output and capabilities. Now, this tank has really, really nasty high explosive, but there's no point to fire HE on the T25 when the guy only has 2 health to begin with. So, what do we got left? We got the E10, who I'm going to aim it on right now. Bonk, bonk. 424. And we back up. What are you going to do to me, Cyborg? You're going to do 169 damage. And while the Cyborg does feature pretty solid damage per minute, doesn't really matter, as I clear his tank anyway. That leaves us with just the E10, and we are going to get right behind his tank. Hello, E10. How you doing? Not very good. 400 damage, and we get a clear, dealing 2,974. Really, the Helsing is just incredible. We can see the mobility here, the damage output, and the accuracy. There's really no downsides of this tank. We even aced it there, earning ourselves over 135,000 credits. The best part, this is a premium and not a collector, meaning that Wargaming really can't even nerf this tank right now unless they were to change it to a collector, but that's a very, very small chance. The Helsing is absolutely incredible. I mean, we can see the damage per minute is great at 2,600. Its dispersion and aiming time are fantastic. Its damage per shot, just everything about this tank is great. Top speed is 60, powered away to 23. If you get this tank, you will not be disappointed. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. So now that we have played in the Helsing, let's make our way to the opposite, the T6 Dracula. The Dracula is a absolute blast to mess around with. It has just great mobility. It has solid DPM for a medium. And look at that pen, 250 millimeters of APCR is actually kind of incredible when you realize that this is a tier 7. So, yeah, let's see what the Dracula can do. Well, we're getting right into our battle. A pretty solid matchup. Up against us, we have tier 6s and 7s. We have a Hazard, SP1C, FE201, and a T34 GFT for tier 7s. Down at tier 6, we have an 88 Blitz 9000 and the Cromwell. Now, the Dracula has one of the fastest power to weights, or should I say fastest acceleration in the game. And we can see that right here. I'm already up to 62, 65 kilometers per hour. It is just insane how quick this vehicle accelerates. And because of that, it allows you to obviously get away with some very, very nasty plays. So we're going to see if any heavies decide to cross this. It would not surprise me if they did. Hello? Not seeing much so far. Now, another spot you can poke is this right here, and sometimes you will spot vehicles as they try to cross. But I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to make an interesting play. I'm going to push right on down. Okay, that was just a sad shot. But we're going to push right on down and around. Now, this tank has 10 degrees of gun depression, meaning that you can actually work ridge lines incredibly effective. That SP already realized, gee, maybe I shouldn't be holding too much against that player. Well, we'll take a quick shot all the way off at the distance, and we have our teammates. I don't know where that SP is going, but I really don't care. We're going to get behind this FE201, and we're going to see if we can get some bleeds out. So aiming, there you go. By the way, this tank also has very solid damage per shot at 225, meaning that even a lot of tanks in tier 7 you can get some very good trades into. That I did not expect, but I will greatly accept it. Thank you very much, Wargaming, for an ammo rack. Let's see, we have the T-34-2 off to the flank, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get right behind this Blitz 9000. We have that mobility too, and I can also load a high explosive shell, dealing 287 into his tank. Bye-bye. We have the Cromwell B and SP1C, and we are going to push this SP. We get a nice 228 damaging shell. What are you going to do? Well, I can tell you not much. We're going to load in an HE, 291 damage. We back up. He's dead. And we have the Cromwell who is circling around our teammate, but doesn't matter to me. You're dead as well. So a pretty good start to this battle. 2,300 damage dealt, especially when you add in that ammo rack. We can see, again, this tank has really good pen. I haven't even had the load gold yet, but if we do load gold, for example, on this AT, his armor just turns to complete paper. So all that's left is the Hazard 1, and we are going to push this Hazard full speed, and we're going to give him a love tap. Look at that. Ooh, a nice ram into his tank. We're going to load in a high explosive, and we're going to pen it. However, doesn't really matter, as the Hazard's dead anyway. That was a pretty good game. We did a lot of damage. You can also see the Dracula is incredibly good at ramming. You might even want to run the ramming equipment on this vehicle. But there you go. Second game, 3,400 damage, and yep, there you go. Another ace, earning ourselves another 140,000 credits. As I was saying, you might be better off running improved modules on this tank, which takes away 40% of the damage received when ramming, which means that you can ram really aggressively and kind of get away with it. But yeah, that's the T6 Dracula. As I said, the power to weight is just insane. Look at it. 41. There is not a single tank in the game apart from the M41D that features a similar power to weight. And when you pair that with the fact this vehicle also has an ability called Track Regenerator, meaning that when a track is destroyed, it's almost instantly repaired. Pair that with the great DPM, solid penetration, and everything else, and the Dracula is just a beast. I would recommend to get your hands on this vehicle. Well, if you get lucky, I guess. But honestly, the Helsing and Dracula are both very fun, so there's really no complaints to be having. And that brings us to the final two vehicles, both heavies. We have the Pharaoh and we have the Lycan. These two tanks are very different in capabilities, but very fun in playstyle. I love the look of the Lycan. You have two different styles you can put on it. You've got the Knight, which kind of has its blood, or I guess this is just the base one, and then the Knight is the camo that you can put on it. I think the camo looks sick. I honestly think both styles for this vehicle look sick. The Lycan I would highly recommend to run enhanced armor on because of the fact that this vehicle actually has really good protection. That brings us to a battle in the Lycan, which is the Tier 7 Blitz Nation Heavy. And honestly, I really like the Lycan. First of all, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It has two different styles. You can either run it with no camo, which is the werewolf style, or you can run the Knight, which is also a really, really unique skin. Now, the Lycan has some really cool capabilities going for it. First of all, it has a very nice alpha damage of 400 per shot. While our aiming time is rather atrocious, you can see that pretty good damage per shot right there, getting a pretty easy chunk off of that Annihilator. Armor-wise, the Lycan's upper plate is incredibly strong, and the lower plate, well, it's obviously a weakness, but you're not going to have to worry too much about the lower plate as long as you're using that gun depression and hiding it. For example, this spot here, we can see perfectly hides that lower plate. Now, here's the fun fact about the Lycan's armor. It is actually incredibly strong on that upper plate, way stronger than people realize. And there you go. We actually got a bounce from a Tornvon there, which is one of the higher penetration tier 8s. So yeah, armor on the Lycan, really good. In fact, it's, I would say, some of the best in tier 7. The only problem with the Lycan you're going to run into is the accuracy. It's rather poor. You can see how long I have to aim in for some of these shots, and yeah, some of them are a gamble, but you have to take gambles to do well in this game. And this tank, well, it does pretty dang good. So we're going to aim it on the FE. Easy clear. You can see how when you're playing it a bit more frontline, the gun definitely seems to benefit a bit more. So we are now going to push this T-77 and see if we can get a shell into him. Something that I really like about this vehicle is that it actually has very solid levels of penetration, 230 millimeters on the premium, which means that, for example, a tank like the T-77, we can actually get a quite easy penetration straight through. So just like that, we are now up to 2,200 damage. We have the TS5 in front of us, and while the TS5 is a rather scary tank, we're just going to load an HE shell, and see ya. We only needed to deal 8 anyways. Look at that, Tornvon bouncing my armor once again. The weak spot of the Lycan is actually the turret and not the hull. If you're using gun depression, especially with enhanced armor like I am, your upper plate is, I would say, equivalent to that of a 2.52. The problem, as I mentioned, is the gun's accuracy. But the other problem is the turret armor. It's not great. You will get penned right through the turret if your opponents know what they're doing. But we have the Tornvon who actually manages to bounce my upper plate. Again, that upper plate armor, look at those bounces right on the hull. So you can really see just how effective this vehicle's armor is. We actually took 0 damage this game, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Another very cool capability of the Lycan is that it basically has 0 module damage. We blocked 1500 that game, we got a first class, 2600. Too bad we didn't get a third ace. But you'll notice when we take a look at this vehicle's characteristics, it says Werewolf Defense. Internal modules and gun do not receive critical damage. In other words, you basically can't get ammo racked in this vehicle. You can't get an engine damaged. You can't get your anything really damaged inside of the tank. Now, your tracks can still be broken, but the fact that this tank is basically unstoppable in terms of module damage is kind of wild, and it means that you can literally get away with running improved modules instead of defense system and just get an additional 40% ramming damage and, or sorry, 40% less damage on you, and not only that, but an extra 20% track durability, so you get the best of both worlds. The Lycan really is a super solid tank. It's one that I find very fun, and we can see why the armor and overall capabilities are fantastic. And that brings us to the final vehicle, the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh features some really good capabilities and some really mediocre ones. The gun is very dangerous, dealing 1960 damage per minute, but the really scary part about the Pharaoh is the auto-loading damage output. This tank has 3 shell clip, which does 250 damage in each shot. So that means in total, you can deal 750 damage in just 5 seconds with this tank. You feature 7 degrees of gun depression, a decent top speed of 38, and a surprisingly good power to weight ratio, allowing you to actually get up to speed. The Pharaoh's armor is also very good on the upper plate, especially when you are fighting lower tiered opponents. You can actually expect to get quite a few bounces. The armor's not as good as the Lycan, but the gun is quite a bit better, especially when you're featuring almost the same damage per minute at around 2000 as we did see. The major downside, I would say, the Pharaoh is just the fact that it's a very large vehicle, and not only that, but it's got a super long clip reload of like 18 seconds. So once you shoot your clip, you need to make sure that you have plenty of room to back into cover. But honestly, when I made my original review on the Pharaoh, I said that this is a pretty dang overpowered vehicle, and I still stick by that. The ability to deal 750 damage in just 5 seconds with solid armor, decent gun depression, and overall mobility is kinda crazy. So, let's get into some gameplay, see what the Pharaoh can do. Another Tier 8 game. I don't love fighting Tier 8s, but I don't think anybody does when they're in a Tier 7. So what do we have up against us? AMX 1390, Hori T1, Progetto 46, T77, and then we arrive to the Tier 7s, being an AMX 1375, T25-2, and a Tiger P. Okay, well, we are going to make our way over to the medium flank. We can see the mobility here, and as I mentioned, this tank's pretty quick in terms of power to weight. One thing I also love about the Pharaoh is the track design. We can see it has gold and black striping through it, which I personally think looks amazing, and it really does actually allow this tank to shine. So we have the AMX who drives right out in the open. We got a 273, and we got a 262, and see ya. Yeah. I'm not really sure what that player's big brain plan was, but it did not go well, I can tell you that. We can see that long clip reload, but, I mean, after just deleting that AMX, I don't think it really matters. We got a couple seconds left with the Tiger P all the way in the back, and our teammate gets a very easy shot into that Tiger. We have the T77, which we get a 250 damage shell into. We miss one shot. And we got another shell. There you go. So we actually out-traded that T77 by quite a bit as well. We're up to 1,000 damage already, and that's pretty good for only the first minute of this game. Now, I don't love everything going on in this battle. Their team is in some weird positioning, and the only way for me to reliably get into that area is to skadoosh my way on through. So we have the 1390 all the way in the back, and we can see the Progetto and everything else over there. But I think, personally, I want to try and get that T77 cleared and the Tiger P taken out. So we'll see if we can do that. We have the AMX, and as much as I'd love to get some damage into that AMX, I don't think it's possible just yet. So we have the T77 right in front of us. There you go. T77 got shot. So let's see what he's going to do. Well, he pens me. You know what? You know what, T77? I'm going to get shot by you. And I don't care, because we're going to get 1, we're going to get 2, and we are going to load into Gold Shell and take you out of the game. So while your tank may be very, very dangerous, guess what? You just got killed by a tier 7. And now we are just going to simply reload. We have the Tiger P on us right in front, and oh, he goes right through my armor. That kind of sucks. I was hoping that I would get a bounce, but we did not. Okay, well, we got 1 pen into the Tiger P, and let's hope he bounces me or misses. Come on. 2 pens into the Tiger P. He misses his shot. Oh, but that's a Hori rolling up on my rear. Okay, let's aim it on that Tiger quickly, and we get the clear. Beautiful. Okay, AT's going to start turning around. He's stuck on my booty, though. Go, 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 go. AT, I'm hoping you don't die just yet, because I need you alive for a little bit longer. There we go. Nice. That means now the Hori is going to be in a real awkward position with tanks all over him. He gets shot. Nice. Okay. And unfortunately, my teammate does die, but I expect my TS5 to at least do a decent job over there. We can see the AMX on the flank, and we can see the T25 too, and there is the enemy Progetto. However, I'm not able to get too much damage into that Progetto just yet. Let's see what ends up happening. Well, we have the 13, who is so close to showing me his haul, but just not yet. Well, that sucks. Let's see. The Barask is going to push, and we are just going to wait here patiently. I think that if we wait for this Progetto to make his way over here, we should be able to get some damage out. There you go. 280, and nice. 260. That is a very solid amount taken off that Progetto just there, and we're going to reload. Again, you can see that clipping potential of this vehicle being fantastic. It really is. Like, you will underrate this tank's capabilities. Now, this Progetto is going to be a serious problem for me, and I'm just going to squeeze right off to his side. Let's see what we can do. There you go. 201 damaging shell. And I'm just going to wait, possibly. Well, you know, I guess we don't have to. I was going to say I'm going to wait for my Brask to reload, but it doesn't really make a difference if I'm able to kill the Progetto. So there you go. That is 4 good games in each of these tanks, dealing 3,251 in the Pharaoh. You can see why this tank's autoloading capabilities, in my opinion, are a little bit crazy. So honestly, all these tanks are fantastic. If you want my opinion on best to worst, I would say the best is the Dracula, then the Helsing, then the Pharaoh, and then the Lycan. I think all of them are great, though. The Lycan I do very well, and I mean, you can take a look at my statistics, and it's got an 80% win rate. So what else do I need to say? My Pharaoh has a 90% win rate, and the Dracula and Helsing also have great win rates and capabilities. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you learned a thing or two, please consider smashing that subscribe button. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.